Now, into the ongoing investigation of the disappearance of baby Tegan Lee Lane. In the eyes of the community, Keli Lane, mother of baby Tegan, had come from a well-presented family, being the daughter of Sandra Lane, a water polo team manager, and Robert Lane, a well-known surfer, rugby player, and retired police officer. It was not until 1992 when she fell pregnant for the first time at 17 years of age, where her world as she knew it would be turned upside down and set a starting point for her following pregnancies. Between 1992 and 1999, Keli Lane fell pregnant 5 times and had managed to conceal the pregnancies from her parents, her water polo teammates, her boyfriends, and her family. Lane had terminated the first 2 pregnancies in 1992 and 1994, and in 1995 had given birth to her first child, a baby girl, which she had put up for adoption. On the 12th of September in 1996, Lane, aged 21 at the time, had given birth to Tegan in secret at Western Sydney's Auburn Hospital. She had attended a friend's wedding on the 14th of September, just 2 days after giving birth, with no sign of the baby. The aspiring water polo Olympian was convicted in 2010 of murdering her 2-day-old baby Tegan in 1996. In a case that captivated the nation, Keli Lane's lies came back to haunt her. At this point, it was unknown to anyone that there was a missing child up until May 1999, during the adoption process for the third secret child, a baby boy. In the statements written, Lane denied any previous children and continuously lied about where she and her former partner at the time had been staying. As an initial fostering agreement which she had signed lapsed, the agency had no way of getting in touch with her to renew it, as she had made it almost impossible. As a result of this, the adoption agency was obliged to hand the child over to the Department of Community Services. From this, one can see the responsiveness of the law, as the agency had acted accordingly in regard to taking the legally required steps after the signed agreement had overturned, therefore being effective in uncovering the excessive chains of events following. The case was assigned to Mr. John Borovny, former child protection worker for dogs, where he inquired into the adoption of the third child and unintentionally discovered that Lane had been admitted to hospital 40 weeks pregnant in September 1996, when baby Tegan was born. No adoption centres had 1996 baby records, and with Lane initially denying any previous pregnancy and offering an inconsistent version of events, raised a tremendous amount of suspicion. Mr. Borovnik had contacted Keli Lane, where she again denied Tegan's existence. Baby Tegan had been missing for 3 years, with no one noticing the disappearance of a child. As Mark Tedeschi, the Crown prosecutor in Keli Lane's case, states, "In my view, if it wasn't for John Borovny, the disappearance of Tegan Lane would never have been noticed. This exemplifies the extent to which the law balances the rights of victims, as through following protocol, the disappearance of a child hadn't slid through the cracks. This matter was then placed in the hands of Manly Police, where investigations, questioning and searches into the disappearance of baby Tegan began." It was not until February 2001 when the Where's Tegan question had been asked, demonstrating an inefficient use of resources, as it took almost a year to ask the most significant question to the case, however remaining effective as it evoked the investigation. A various amount of legal measures such as a coronial inquest and police investigations were taken before the offender, Keli Lane, was charged. When questioned by police, Lane had no legal representation, highlighting the inaccessibility of the law, as she was unaware of the seriousness, proving to be ineffective towards Lane's defense. Lane stated that she had given the child to the baby's father, Andrew Morris, whom she claimed to have had a brief affair with. She was interviewed again in May 2003, where she then claims the father's last name is Norris, not Morris, and states she felt forced to hide her pregnancies as she felt alone. "I had no other choice." With these drastic lies building up, docs researched further into the disappearance before handing the matter over to Manly Police Force, where a coronial inquest commenced, demonstrating the responsiveness of the law. The inquest was presided over by former New South Wales State Coroner John Abernethy. Beginning in June 2005, police had undertaken an extensive search for the child, failing to match DNA samples as baby Tegan's body had never been found. Collecting any type of hard evidence or key witnesses led to the conclusion of the inquest into the circumstances of baby Tegan's disappearance in February 2006. This exemplifies the lack of responsiveness from the law, as although extensive searches had been made, there was no findings, demonstrating the ineffectiveness of the coronial inquest. Mr. Abernethy declared that he was disturbed at the possibility that Tegan had met with foul play, and that he is also comfortably satisfied that Tegan Lane is in fact deceased, also showcasing the effectiveness of the inquest as a conclusion had been made. In spite of this, also added there was a slight possibility the child was still alive, and recommended that the case be referred to the New South Wales Police Homicide Squad for further review or inquiries. Non-legal measures such as the media were evident throughout the investigations and evidence collection process, as news articles grasped the public's attention throughout the case, highlighting the effectiveness of non-legal measures in achieving justice. Subsequent police investigations occurred from August 2006, led by Detective Sharon Rhodes, focused on finding Andrew's whereabouts or identity. The type of evidence gathered incorporated birth registrations, immigration records, official name changes, and vehicle registrations, illustrating the absence of response from the law as it led to no sign of the Andrew police were looking for, deeming to be ineffective. Police sought to locate Tegan, who would have been 10 at the time, in searching over 9,000 primary school records, with still no lead to Keli Lane. In November 2008, police excluded all possible leads, had no conclusive evidence pointing to Tegan's death, and decided not to charge Keli, with Detective Rhodes stating, "The evidence does not establish a motive beyond a reasonable doubt." Resource efficiency has been ineffective in this case due to the fact that despite police efforts, limited evidence was found. Consequently, the case was referred to the New South Wales Director of Public Prosecutions, Mr. Nicholas Cowdery, where after a 12-month review of carefully evaluating the circumstantial evidence, decided to charge Keli Lane with murder on the 17th of November 2009. Mr. Cowdery stated, "What I was looking for to support a murder charge was circumstantial evidence, along with evidence of events surrounding the disappearance of the child that pointed to culpable involvement of Keli Lane." According to Mr. Cowdery, a circumstantial case can be stronger than a case that is supported by direct evidence. With the crime being in 1996, Lane had been charged in 2009, indicating a lack of resource efficiency as it had taken 13 years to gather enough evidence to charge her with the murder of Tegan. From this, one can see the ineffectiveness of the law in regards to the time period between the crime and Lane being charged. This may also demonstrate the extent to which the law balances the rights of victims, offenders, and society, as although it had taken a lengthy time to convict Keli Lane of her crime, a decision had been made to protect the rights of the individuals and the community, indicating that the law is rather effective. Convicted child killer Keli Lane has failed in her attempt to be released on bail, as Justice Hoban states, "Rather than have people possess false hope, I'm going to refuse bail today." She had been kept in remand until her trial began on the 9th of August 2010. From this, the balance of the community and individuals' rights is evident through the offender being kept in remand in order to not be a threat to society. With the trial commencing, it is seen as a legal measure taken after the offender was charged. The matter was heard in the Supreme Court and was presided over by Justice Anthony Wheely, with Mark Tedeschi as the Crown Prosecutor and Keith Chappell as Lane's defence team. Keli Lane had pleaded not guilty to murdering 2-day-old Tegan and maintained her initial story of handing over the baby to her biological father, Andrew Morris or Norris. Keli Lane's defence rested on the lack of evidence the prosecution obtained about how or where Tegan might have been killed, also considering that no hard evidence had been collected, for instance the body of Tegan. This hinders the enforceability of the law, as the evidence gathered wasn't enough to charge Lane with murder, therefore expressing an ineffectiveness to the Crown's statements. The defence claimed that even if Lane had murdered her child, the Crown could not prove that the mens rea was evident, highlighting the effectiveness of the defence team's statements in an attempt to protect the individual's rights, creating doubt of guilt. At the trial, defence barrister Keith Chappell stated, "They can't prove how, when, where or even why Keli Lane would murder her newborn child. They can't even prove that child is dead." From this, the ineffectiveness of the law is apparent, as no evidence was displayed to the court and jury, exemplifying inaccessibility to the law. In the absence of evidence, Chappell called on Justice Wheely to direct the jury into finding Lane not guilty of murder. The defence application was rejected, and as a result, Chappell announced that the trial would proceed with no defence witnesses at all, and Lane would not be giving evidence, resulting in failing to uphold equality for all, as the law hadn't been just, showcasing an ineffectiveness. The Crown produced evidence that as a motive for murder, Lane would go out of her way to increase her chances of representing Australia in water polo, even if it meant being prepared to abandon her children at birth. Mr. Tedeschi alleged Lane had told complete and utter lies over the years to cover 5 secret pregnancies, misleading authorities about the paternity of them and lying about her own circumstances. Justice Wheely had instructed the jury that lies do not equate to guilt. The Crown claimed otherwise. With a jury selection of 12, a verdict on the murder charge was difficult to come to. Under advice from Justice Wheely, the jury was given the option of returning a majority of 11 to 1 verdict. In total, Keli Lane's trial lasted 4 months, and after a week of deliberating, found Lane guilty on the 13th of December 2010 of the murder of baby Tegan and 3 counts of lying under oath. From this, one can see the effectiveness of legal measures taken in achieving justice, as the law had been responsive in charging Keli Lane. With Lane being found guilty of murder, sentencing procedures commenced on 11th of March, and on 15th of April 2011, Keli Lane was sentenced to 18 years imprisonment with a non-parole period of 13 years and 5 months, making her eligible for parole on 12th of May 2023. Lawyers acting on behalf of Lane lodged an appeal against the conviction on 18th of April 2011, with another appeal being lodged and heard in the New South Wales Court of Criminal Appeal between July and December 2013, also being dismissed, illustrating a lack of responsiveness from the law as her appeals had been rejected. A further application for leave was made to appeal to the High Court of Australia, also being refused in August 2014. Consequently, an explosive 3-part ABC documentary series led by investigative journalist Caro Mendron-Hanna recently aired on the 25th of September 2018, examining every detail of the bizarre case. Exposed, the case of Keli Lane had cast serious doubt on the integrity of her prosecution, trying to prove Keli Lane's innocence, demonstrating the protection of individuals' rights as Lane is given a second chance. The documentary revealed that Lane was offered immunity at a coronial inquest if she told authorities what happened to her baby, demonstrating the opportunity for resolving conflict and responsiveness from the law as it was reactive in attempting to get a confession, however remaining ineffective as she had turned down the get-out-of-jail-free card and maintained her initial story of handing over Tegan to her biological father. Dr. Michelle Reiters, director of RMIT University, who was featured in the documentary, states that the public broadcaster has possibly unrevealed a wrongful conviction. We are fairly convinced the police investigation was completely inadequate. They latched onto a theory and really didn't look at any real alternatives, limiting access to the law as Keli Lane wasn't given the benefit of the doubt, in which everyone has the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. This demonstrates an ineffectiveness of the law as the role of police discretion in the criminal justice system had been abused. Dr. Reiters also stated that the ABC's investigation has opened eyes to the possibility that the police can sometimes get it wrong, which undermines the rule of law. Former New South Wales detective Sharon Rhodes, who led the final investigation into Tegan's disappearance, was interviewed by ABC and mentioned the police had absolutely nothing. She also stated, "I've got no doubt in my mind that she committed the crime, that she killed Tegan, murdered her, but she's an accused person, she deserved due process," illustrating the lack of accessibility Lane had to the law and infringes on the rights of the individual as she wasn't given a fair trial, proving to be ineffective towards her case. Detective Rhodes also declared Keli Lane being imprisoned without the standard of proof being met as a miscarriage of justice and an unreliable prosecution, stating, "The case should not have gone forward. There is no circumstantial case here, no witnesses, no forensic evidence, no motive. I think the ABC series has made it possible now for Keli to get a fair trial." This illustrates that the non-legal measures in achieving justice have been rather effective with balancing the individual's rights and equality for all. According to The Conversation, in Australia it is known that 1% of the cases carried out in a year are falsely convicted, meaning up to 330 cases annually present a potential miscarriage of justice. In spite of this, although only 1% are falsely convicted, individuals' rights are not being protected to the full degree, demonstrating an ineffectiveness to the law. Former Supreme Court Justice Anthony Wheatley, who presided over the trial of Keli Lane, has spoken up about his doubts over the conviction. He stated that the case had affected him emotionally and was a difficult case for the Crown to prove, with the baby's body never being found, and because it did not make sense to me for a mother to do that, illustrating the extent to which the law reflects moral and ethical standards. When interviewed in the documentary, he admitted that he did not believe Lane was a threat to the community and stated that although she slept with a lot of men, told a chain of lies and made some mistakes, that's not grounds for putting her in prison, of course. Till this very day, Keli Lane remains one of Australia's supposedly most notorious child killers. Despite more than 2 decades passing, what happened to baby Tegan remains an unsolved mystery. So is Keli Lane really a cold-blooded killer? Or could there be an unknown truth that is yet to come to light?